Yes, this is Bill Jones again from Freedom's Nest, from the website recapturefederalism.com. First things first, my new practice, saying the oath. I, William R. Jones, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. So help me God. We're now on episode 14, and the title and subject is Communist Attack on Professional Sports. Wow, Bill, you're really going off the deep end now. What's that got to do with communism, professional sports? It does. Everything in our society does. Because communism is a totalitarian form of government, usually brutal. We've had totalitarian style governments throughout ages, all going way back. Even the Old Testament, you can find King Nebuchadnezzar. He was a totalitarian government. Daniel 3, you can read about that. And the present problems we have, the Sharia law, those places, that's a totalitarian government, but that's through extreme Muslim folks running things, different places, not being peaceful. And then there's communism. We've had world communism for over 160 some years, since 1848, the Communist Manifesto, written by the communist prophets Frederick Engels and Karl Marx. Yeah, that's nice, Bill, but what's that got to do with professional sports? Okay, this is how it goes down. It's coming into every facet of society. Here in the last, several months, specifically, it's been going on for a while, but specifically, what have we had? We had, since the first of the year, we had a change in the commissioner of the National Basketball Association. A czar, if you will, put in place. And the next thing you know, we've got some problems. We got some problems there with Donald Sterling. Evil man, or at least they'll tell you that. Personal character assassination of Mr. Sterling, my opinion, and I'll get into that a little deeper. What do they try doing? And here's where the communism comes in. The ownership of all these teams in professional sports, it's capitalism. And we know communists are anti-capitalist. Mr. Sterling is a capitalist. Now, he's out there in the entertainment capital of the world, Hollywood, and we know where they're at, don't we? Most of them. And, wow, now if we could just eliminate the private property, and that's what communists do, that's their main aim, their major aim, abolition of private property. Now, if we can just get an owner and do a character assassination on him, make him seem like he's evil, we could just put our people in that we might want. You notice what happened was, first of all, Donald Sterling, they have a tape on him saying things. He did not violate any law. He didn't even say anything that was immoral. But he's a capitalist, and what he said can be misconstrued, and you can do a character assassination on him. So what do? They tried doing that. Oh, they got the other owners. Not too bright they are. They know they're under pressure. They're intimidated by the anti-capitalists. So these capitalists buckle under, and they vote to force Mr. Sterling to sell his club, or his portion of the club. And of course, his wife is the other major owner in that club. So we're going to have him sort of, and what names come up? Oh man, all minority stuff, and automatically you're going to come in here, and this is what they're working for, because communists work with minorities. They use minorities as tools to expand communism. You'll find that in the guidelines of the Communist Party's 1921. I'm not going to quote anything from there, but it's in there. That's what they do. That's how they operate. Oh, but Mr. Sterling, he gets the last laugh because he does sell his team. What does he care? He's old anyway, and he's multi-millionaire, billionaire, whatever he is. A capitalist. And like a good capitalist, he sees what's going on, and he sells the club to another multi-millionaire, billionaire, whatever. Okay? But he's not, the buyer is not from that group that the czar wants to move that team towards. Now here recently we have a thing with the Atlanta Hawks owner, partial owner, whatever he was. Again, said something innocuous, meaningless. Of course, he's a capitalist too. We got to get rid of him and take his private property away and control his private property. And maybe we can, maybe we can sell that to somebody we choose to do it to, instead of not to the highest bidder in a relationship between a buyer and a seller. Then we come down to the NFL. Oh, are they going on doing a deal to Mr. Goodell, the commish? How obvious is this what they're doing? Behavior of players, and somehow it's his fault. Somehow it's the league's fault. I'm going to say this about Mr. Rice. I genuinely believe Mr. Rice is a good human being who made a mistake. Like we all do. We make mistakes. Now, maybe not specifically what he did, but he made a mistake. Now, he was punished. Then all of a sudden they get a video clip, which is interesting, a video clip of a crime being committed. Now, it's not being used by the police, or even the league for that matter. They may have used it behind closed doors. We don't know. Mr. Goodell supposedly spoke with Mr. Rice, and he was given a 2-game suspension. And we don't know. It's personal between him and now his wife. Since the incident, they've gotten married, and they're trying to work things out. And I pray for them, and I hope they do. Maybe she made mistakes, maybe she didn't. Whatever happened that night, it's between them. Personal relationship, marital relationship now. And I pray for them, and I hope they get help, and I hope Mr. Rice gets some anger management help. She's forgiven him, which is the right thing to do, and they'll work it out. But oh no, we got to punish him, because to punish him is, and the way they're working it is to punish the league, the brand on the league. And this is just a continuation and expansion of what they've already done. Because the next thing I'm going to talk about is the Washington Redskins. The Washington Redskins have been the Washington Redskins for about 75 years. There's the NFL, it's a brand. Every team in the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, National Hockey League, on and on and on. And you can go down to the college level too. They're all a brand. They're selling their brands, their name, and they're capitalist. Okay? They're a capitalist. And most of the owners are capitalist. My, oh my. Well, we can't have capitalists. If you're a communist, you're anti-capitalist. And you have to abolish private property and put it into a community. What they're trying to do in professional sports, the pro-communists are trying to nationalize the professional leagues. And to do that, you have to take the ownership away, just like you do with General Motors, and turn it over, and they can put the union people got the part of the ownership of that. The bondholders got screwed. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to screw owners now, trying to nationalize the NFL and other major sports. And they look and they try, and when they get somebody vulnerable, they go after them. Character assassination, that's how they normally operate it. And the character assassination with the Washington Redskins is in the name. For 75 years, no problem. Now all of a sudden, pro-communists come along. They got people, send people out there with their signs. That's the way the communists operate. I'll show you that in the guidelines of the Communist Parties, 1921. And they're marching and this and that. The Washington Redskins. It's a brand. Now, it's a brand. It's a trademark. And the copyrights and all of that. It's intellectual property of the ownership in cooperation with the NFL. It's intellectual property. It is private property. Well, communists can't have that. We got to make it communal property. We have to nationalize it, and that's what it's all about. Nationalization. By the way, that is anti the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. Probably the greatest document written in the 20th century was written in April of 1963 by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. while he was sitting in jail, and the document's called Letter from the Birmingham Jail. He had a problem with black nationalists and separatists at that time also. They've done character assassinations on Dr. King since then, and you listen to him now, and what he supposedly did is not what he actually did and wrote in 1963. He was subverted in 1965 by communists, pro-communists, communist sympathizers. I'm going to read something. I'm going to read two paragraphs, one larger one and then a small one, from Dr. Martin Luther King. You speak of our activity in Birmingham as extreme. At first I was rather disappointed that fellow clergymen would see my nonviolent efforts as those of an extremist. I began thinking about the fact that standing in the middle of two opposing forces in the Negro community. One is a force of complacency made up in part of Negroes who, as a result of long years of oppression, are so drained of self-respect and a sense of somebodyness that they have adjusted to segregation, and in part of a new middle class of Negroes. Because of a degree of academic and economic security, and because in some ways they profit by segregation, have become insensitive to the problems of the masses. The other force is one of bitterness and hatred, and it comes perilously close to advocating violence. It is expressed in the various black nationalist groups that are springing up across the nation, the largest and best known being Elijah Muhammad's Muslim movement, nourished by the Negro's frustration over the continued existence of racial discrimination. This movement is made up of people who have lost faith in America and who have absolutely repudiated Christianity and who have concluded that the white man is an incorrigible devil. Before I read the next small paragraph, let me make a comment. The black Muslims and black Muslims and black pride, those are black nationalist, black liberation theology, communist terminology. Okay, from that period, from 65, it would change. It was there in 63. And the black Muslims, which I may note as a personal note, is the same neighborhood that where I was born and grew up and spent my first 12 years of my life. They were there then in the 50s. They had just moved in from Detroit, where they had started from. Might be noted that the black Muslims, officially known as the Nation of Islam, is on a hate group list by the Southern Poverty Law Center as black separatist. Should be noted. They're still around, still doing their thing across the country. They are anti-Christian, anti-Semitic, and should be noted. He then writes in the next paragraph, I have tried to stand between these two forces, saying that we need to emulate neither the do-nothingism of the complacent nor the hatred and despair of the black nationalist, for there is more excellent way of love and nonviolent protest. I am grateful to God that through the influence of the Negro Church, the way of nonviolence became an integral part of our struggle. And that completes the reading I'm going to have today. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King was a traditional Christian, fourth generation preacher man. In this letter, he also said, I am your Negro brother. Of course, a couple years later, when they subvert his organization, Negro's a bad word. Well, it's not a bad word to Dr. King, nor to me. The bad word is black nationalism. And that's what you have in professional sports right now, the influence of black nationalism, communism, totalitarianism, and the damage they're trying to inflict on professional sports leagues. And they'll use any effort they can or any tool they can, and if that means smearing a player, that's collateral damage, as in the case of Mr. Rice. Yes, that's what they're doing, and you just keep watching it. They're working. They even got sports announcers. Can't say Redskins. Can't say Redskins. They've got the press, the party press, doing their thing, collaborating with the communist. And with that, I'll leave you for this session. Until the next time, good day.